Hello, I think I'm live on YouTube. How is everyone? I haven't done a live stream for a while, so I am making sure everything works. I think my microphone, okay, yeah, should be good. Cool. 1 second. Okay, I was getting some background feed. It was playing actually the YouTube while I was speaking. So, yes, let me just verify my speaker. Select speaker. All right. I think we're good. Let's roll. Cool. I hope everyone's doing well. It's been a while since I've been here, and I wanted to make a video. I think it's probably the last time I made a video was in April of this year, and it's December 26th, 2021 now. It's almost a new year. I can remember last year exactly, New Year's, I was at my parents' house for 2021. And we're talking how 2021 was going to be a good year. And it's almost done now. It's crazy. And it's been a good year with the right lens. If I look at it through the right lens, it's been a good year. If I look at it in the lens of faith, it's been a good year. If I look at it in the lens of just how do I feel, how is my emotions, if I look at it the lens of the world, it's been a tough year. But tough times can pass, and I've learned a lot this year. As you know, I believe we're supposed to learn every year. We're supposed to learn new things. We're supposed to go through experiences, and sometimes they're difficult experiences, but it's cliche. The difficult experiences make us stronger. They make us stronger, period. Without adversity, without difficulty, it's kind of it's impossible to grow. It doesn't matter what you do, it's impossible to grow without that resistance. And I'm alluding to not resistance from people or society or circumstances. Just, I guess the hardest thing has been the resistance of how I see or how I imagine myself, and how I've imagined my future, what it would look like, and that disconnect of living in a life that you didn't expect or didn't envision for yourself. And so that's been the biggest tool of adversity this year for me. Just coming to the realization that time is passing by, and maybe the things that I thought would happen proactively, or maybe even a little side of me thought that certain things in my life would just happen just because, right? Kind of like the lottery mindset, like my life's going to be an awesome experience because it just will happen. It'll just automatically happen. But that's not also the case, right? There are things that I don't want to say it in like have to do, but there's certain things that you need to be active or participate with in order for things to change. So yeah, it's nice to look back on the year and say, yeah, it's almost done. But there has been so many great things. And so I guess this video, I'm kind of making kind of trying to get back into making YouTube videos, not because of you, if you're watching on the other side, more as a log, I guess, a video log, a vlog of kind of like a diary, right? Of keeping track and looking back at my life. And I guess I'm okay with being just putting this publicly out on the internet. Yeah, I watched a few of my videos maybe a week or two ago, and I was surprised with my emotion and how I looked, and I was excited, I was fired up, and I was also speaking some good word, and it was the Lord, it was God speaking through me. It wasn't myself, but I realized I love to encourage people. Sometimes the biggest encouragers, or you could say it this way, I've noticed sometimes the biggest comedians, right? The ones that want to make people laugh when they're on stage, right? They want everyone to laugh. Those are the people that actually sometimes they need to laugh themselves. They need a comedian in their life to make them laugh. So I love to encourage people. I love to, yeah, that's the only word I can think of. Encourage, uplift, bring them to a new level somehow, even just in a moment, a transformation. But sometimes I'm the one that's needed the encouragement. So sometimes I feel like I'm a hypocrite. I'm not really encouraged in my life. So how can I encourage others? That's been a part of the imagination, the image I've seen in myself. I love to encourage. I love to teach. I love to, get people fired up, hyped up. But sometimes myself, I feel, and it's the feeling, right? It's a lie. It's not the truth. It's a feeling. It's an emotion. It's just my mind, right? It's just based on, oh, I'm tired, I'm hungry. Okay, so they're lies, or it's from the enemy. But I've had that fight of, I'm a hypocrite because I'm not encouraged sometimes. So how can I encourage others? And I'm breaking that in the name of Jesus, because that's limiting what God has placed inside of me, that gift, that talent. And I humbly believe that's a gift and a talent to encourage, to inspire, to make people, excited for their life, excited for the purpose that God has given them. And to, yeah, I love to see a level 1 go to a level 2, and a level 2 to level 3, and just growth. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's really enjoyable. I've seen those growths in my life for, small things like running, starting doing a marathon, right? And 10 years ago, crazy, 2011, I did a marathon course at my college, like a full 26.2 marathon. It was a 3-credit class, and you had to finish the marathon in order to pass that class. 60% of the grade was to complete a marathon. It didn't matter the time, but you had to complete a marathon. If you didn't complete the marathon, you failed the class, you didn't get the 3 credits. Well, guess what? I signed up for that class. And beforehand, there was actually before you even sign up, there was the coach, the teacher, he got up and he said, we want to make sure he explained everything. We want you to know that if you don't finish this marathon, you will not pass the class. So, sign like a waiver. Anyway, my point is, I signed up for that class. I felt there was something like, this is going to be so hard. They said it's going to be one of the hardest things you do. And it was my last semester of college, and I was just about to go into the world, right? After 21 years of school, essentially, right? Finally go into the world. And I just felt like I needed to finish my college career on a strong note. And so I wanted a challenge. And that challenge, doing that marathon, it was awesome. The first run, it was December of 2010. It was on the schedule, 5 minutes. It's run for 5 minutes. And then fast forward to 6 months later, June of 2011, I completed my first marathon. I saw that progression, and it was so, same thing as this year. It's so fun to look back, right? It was actually very hard. Not the marathon per se, but I got injured. I got injured before the class marathon, which was in April. And so there was this confidence growing, and then almost the marathon, and then boom, crash and burn. And it was super hard. I actually had to get physical therapy. My right knee, it was like a patella tendon. It was just overused. And I was devastated, defeated. It was literally 3 weeks before the marathon, something I was growing up to, and then boom, crash. And then I had to that was the biggest thing. I had to actually change my mind. I had to imagine seeing myself, okay, Brandon, you're going to sign up for another marathon. You're going to, they're going to postpone your 3 credits. You're going to sign up for another marathon, and then you're going to get back up on the bike, so to speak. Right. And you're going to finish this. You're going to finish what you started, what you committed yourself to. And remember, Brandon, you chose this. No one told you had to do a marathon. You chose it. So finish what you chose. And so I got back up, and I did the physical therapy for 2-3 months. And after probably I think I took 2 months off. I started running. I remember the first run back, I just went slow. I went for a mile or 2, just a small one. And I was really emotional. I was crying. It was something I missed so much. And I got back to it, and it was so powerful. And then a few weeks after I started training again, I finished that marathon. I crossed it. The same thing, super emotional. I was just like tearing up at the end. And it wasn't the 26.2 miles. It was the mindset. It was the difficulty I went through, but it was also part of it. I think that got me to the finish was that hard work, but also the imagination. I knew I saw myself finishing that race. I saw myself completing what I signed up for in December of 2010. And it happened. It was so encouraging. It was so powerful. And it was a lesson that's going to remain with me for the rest of my life. I've had that, level 1 to level 2. I've had that experience with running. I've had it with Korean a few years later. I moved to South Korea in 2013 to teach English at an elementary school. And I've always loved languages. In high school, I took Spanish and I went to Mexico with my family a few times and, spoke, small conversations in Spanish. It was so enjoyable to meet and to speak into different cultures, different language. And so in Korea, I had a whole year contract, the same kind of thing where I kind of essentially signed up for a new experience and I wanted the fullest of it. And so I challenged myself. Again, that challenge is something so beautiful. It's not always enjoyable. It's actually, there is definitely always unenjoyable parts in the challenge. It's easy to sign the paper, like I'm going to do the marathon. I'm going to commit to learning Korean every day. But there's definitely moments where it's not enjoyable. But in the end, it's always worth it. It's always fun. I can't think about not running the marathon 10 years ago now. I can't even imagine that. I can't even imagine not going to Korea and living there for a year and just speaking English. I'm in a foreign land. Let's learn the foreign language and let's interact with these people. And same thing there. I learned Korean. I took classes like immediately, 2 or 3 weeks on the ground. I was taking classes. I wanted to level up. I wanted to grow. And it was so powerful. And I stayed there for 3 years the first time, and I could speak conversationally with people. I couldn't speak everything, and just the same thing. I can't run a 2-hour and 3-minute marathon like the world record, but I got out there and I did it. And it's the same thing. I'm still cultivating that. I'm still cultivating running. Even the last few days, I've got back up on that. But the point is, it's an imagination. I was like, I remember making a video on YouTube. It was one of my first videos. I'm like, I'm going to make this video of me introducing myself in Korean. And 7, 6, 5, 10 years later, I'm going to see myself and I'm going to be like, what? Dude, your Korean was terrible then. I'm going to see that progression. And I actually watched it recently, and it's just kind of funny. It's like so broken, but again, it's just that progression, that imagination. Like I can see it's going to come to pass. And that's what I've been focusing on. This last few weeks, maybe month. There's so much to say. In my mind, I'm trying to figure out what's the best way what's the best storyline for this live stream? How do I bring it all together? There's so much to say. Let me say this. The best thing that's happened this year, the best thing, and I'm pretty sure she's watching, is I got engaged to my best friend. And I'm so excited. I'll call her Sohi. That's her alias. But I could probably just say her name, but it's Sojin. Anyway, I got engaged to her, and we've known each other for 2 years now. And let me try to fit this all in. But the point I wanted to say with that was there was some point, and yes, thank you. Okay. The last few weeks, Sojin and myself, she has a YouTube channel, and she's doing very, very well. She started it 2 years ago. She has 10,000 subscribers, and I'm not bragging on her because I know she would be embarrassed by that. I'm bragging on what God is doing inside of her. And so God, I'm all these thoughts are met. I'm trying to figure out, what am I going to say? Okay. The point is, we are doing kind of a class or a course, or I'll say it this way. It's like a club together. And we chose a book. It's a book club basically. And we chose a book called The Power of Your Imagination. Yeah, I got it right here. Hold on. The Power of Your Imagination. And it's by Andrew Womack. Okay. It's a great, wonderful book. And so the last few weeks I've been reading and listening and just kind of focused back on that and that imagination and what you envision. The imagination rather is the capacity. It's kind of like, think about it like this. A printer a printer itself doesn't print a picture, right? But if you connect your computer to it and you type up a document or a picture or something, you send it to the printer and it'll print that picture out. What you see on the computer, it'll print it. So the printer is just the mechanism. It's the component that enables you to print something. So the imagination is the same way. The imagination is the framework of what God has given us. It's the framework, it's the printer, if you will. And inside that, the visions can be printed. The imagination is the printer, but you have to first put your imagination to work. You have to turn it on, and you've got to be able to, what do you want to see? And again, this is, I'll get into that later, but you could envision, evil things, bad things. Okay. You can envision good things, right? It's pretty much two things. So whatever you put in there, you print that, you see that vision, and it comes to pass, right? Another example, by the way, guys, I am just free flowing. I didn't have any plan except I just 3 days ago, I'm like, I'm going to do a live stream and I'm going to talk about imagination. That's it. So I'm just free flowing right now. So another example, after Korea, I felt strongly, not by feelings, but I felt in my spirit called to go to this guy's Bible college. His name's Andrew Womack again, and he's got a Bible college called Charis Bible College. It's in Colorado. So in 2015 rather, I really got excited, and I was in a small group in Korea at a church, and I wanted to know more about God. I wanted to learn more and study His Word, which I wasn't really reading the Bible a ton, and I'm like, I really want to read the Bible more and actually learn. And I was also listening to Andrew's podcast and his teachings on his website. I was listening all day. I was obsessed with it. And so I got a vision. I saw myself. I'm like, I'm going to go to Charis Bible College. That's his Bible college. And I am going to go there. So I was making plans, preparing these plans. In 2016, I left Korea, a place I loved, and I was very sad, and I was really excited about Korea, but I knew I needed to go back to America to study and to be a part of this program and meet people and get encouraged and learn the Word of God. And so I went back there, but in between Korea and going to Charis Bible College, I had like 2 months, like 4 months rather. And so I got back to America and I hung out with some friends and family for a little bit. And then I went on the road. And in December of 2015, before I left Korea, I got an image. I went to Google Maps one day, totally random. I never thought I would do this. I went to Google Maps and I was just looking at America. I love to look at maps. I was looking at maps. I just look at them. I'm like, oh, look at this state. Wow, I've never seen that town before. I just love to look at maps. Love it. Hey, what's the capital of, I look up the capital. Wow, there it is. Cool. Anyway, I was looking at America specifically. And my family, we always go to Colorado in the summer. My grandparents have owned a condo in Estes Park, Colorado. We've always went out there in the summer, and it's just a wonderful time in the mountains. So I saw the map feature and I'm like, yeah, it's like a 13 or 14 hour drive from my parents' hometown in Minnesota. And I saw the driving feature. And then also next to it, there's like biking and walking. And so I'm like, wait a second, I just clicked the bike. I'm like, I wonder how long would it take to bike from Minnesota to Colorado? I clicked it and it was like, I forgot, like 30 hours or something. No, it was probably way more than that. Yeah, it was way more than that. Anyway, it was a lot of biking, right? And it's like 800 miles. I'm like, that's doable. I'm like, that's kind of doable. I think I could do that. I think I could break that up. So then it suddenly I'm like, wait, what would it take from like West Coast, I don't know, LA to, I don't know, Washington, DC. So I just typed that in and did the bicycle. And I'm like, whoa. And then I remembered, and maybe there was part of me that remembered a little bit of parts of my life. I remember my principal from elementary school, and I'm young. I just remembered vaguely, but he did a bike trip. I think he did entirely across America when I was in elementary school, and he was probably in his 40s, maybe 50s. But that I wasn't like, I want to do that back then. But I think that started to pop into my head. What was I doing? I started to get an imagination of, hey, what would it look like if Brandon and I biked across America? And you're saying, well, why does that matter? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But I got a vision of it. Man, so strongly within like a week, I was like almost committed. I was like, I'm doing this. Like I saved up some money in Korea. So I had enough money to do it. I'm doing this. I am doing this bike trip. Why? Do I like biking? I've never biked more than 8-10 miles ever in my, in one go. So it wasn't about biking. It was more about like the fulfillment of that picture that my imagination printed, that vision. And I was like, this would be cool. And I saw myself, I did some research and I'm like, I'm going to start from the East Coast, go to the West Coast. There's a humongous debate online whether you should go from the West to the East or East to the West because the wind. I didn't care. I just gave up. I'm like, nope, I'm doing from the East to the West. So I started just researching and I saw, okay, there's like this path, and it's a path, but it's a road that people follow. It's called the Trans Am Bike Trail. And I Googled it and it's 4,100 miles. And I, after a while, I could see literally, and I wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to shut my eyes and envision and hum. No, I just started to see myself. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be holding up my bike on the West Coast in Oregon. I can see myself like I accomplished this journey. I could see it. I could see it like for real. I could see myself, not other people. I could actually see myself. And that was December, maybe late November of 2015. And in August 5th, 2016, so 9 months later, it was fulfilled. I was on the Oregon coast and I was holding up my bike with two other guys who I met on the internet who also want to do the same thing. 3 guys, actually. We found a guy halfway and he joined us. One from Australia, one from Germany, one from DC. I was holding up my bike. I didn't see them in my imagination though, right? I want to make that clear. That just came along. But I saw myself, and there I was holding up my bike, just kind of like that marathon. I saw myself finishing that marathon, and bam, I was living the imagination that I formed in my mind. And God gave me that ability to form those images in my mind, and it was fulfilled. It happened. And it was one of the weirdest feelings and most memorable days, because when that was fulfilled, when it actually took place in the physical realm, I felt that night we went back and it was crazy. It was like done. It's like tomorrow we're not going to get up and go biking. Like every day you would just go to bed and wake up and, okay, let's go bike 65, 70 miles today. It was so weird to go back to we camped. We went back to our tents that night. And I just felt like anything was possible. If you can dream it, really, if you can imagine it, if you can actually see yourself, not like, yeah, I can see myself do, like, if you actually can see it happening, it'll happen. It was just a weird feeling. I was just kind of sitting there pondering, and I stayed there one more day before I went back to Minnesota. I just stayed overnight and just hung out the next day, but it was just so weird that it just happened. I wasn't even emotional, like in a sense that I knew for certain that it was going to happen. So now that it was fulfilled, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, crying. Like, I can't believe the marathon. For some reason, I was more emotional, but this, I was almost like happy for sure. But it was just like, and I've heard that from other people. For example, this author of the book, Andrew, he saw himself building a Bible college to bring in people and to learn and teach and send them back out in the world and to go do wonderful things and to speak the truth of God in other nations around the world. Right. And he saw himself building a large Bible college in Colorado in the mountains. He envisioned it. He saw it before he made blueprints, but before he saw it in his mind, he saw it. And I remember when he got on stage, when they did the dedication service, this was maybe 7 years after he started envisioning this, boom, on the stage. Again, most people think, oh, that's such a touching moment. Probably he was crying and weeping. Like, I can't believe this happened. Just like me on the bike trip, same thing. He just got up there and people were in the crowd almost crying and surprised it happened. But he's just like, I knew this was going to happen, and we're here now. It's the same feeling I think that I had on that bike trip. It was just insane. And so I guess the point is when you get something inside of you, when you see something inside of you, it's hard to stop that unless you give up, unless you give into your emotions, your feelings, or what other people tell you. I had my parents right away when I told them I'm going to bike across America. And when you tell someone your dream like that, whether it's whatever, if it's a journey, if it's climb Mount Everest, if it's something other, if it's starting a business, most of the time, I would say almost always, the jerk reaction is the quick reaction, right? Is for other people is like, what? You're going to bike across? What are you? Why? Or what? You're going to start a business? Or, dude, you're not going to make a YouTube channel. You have nothing to talk about. People, whether they're trying to be mean to you or maybe they're just shocked. Probably that's most of the case. They're just shocked. Usually the response is not like, awesome, go bike across America. Awesome, start that business. That'll be awesome. It's usually not that way. So there was many opportunities, and there's many opportunities for you to let that imagination die, right? To not actually, it's kind of like the printer running out of ink. It prints the image halfway and it comes out and you're like, what? The image it's terrible. So I guess the point is you got to keep that ink. You got to keep that ink full in the printer. You got to keep your vision burning, right? There's got to be a big purpose of why you're going to keep going when the difficult times come, because they do and they will come, always, guaranteed. If it's like, I'm going to run a 5K in 2 weeks, well, you should probably give yourself some more time to train for a 5K if you've never ran. But something small though, even that, there's going to be times to give up and to stop if you only go from your will, from your emotions, right? There's got to be something bigger and greater than that. This is fun. I just love unpacking, and these things just pop out of me. I did a little prayer before this. I just said, God, what do you want me to speak on? And I just, this imagination I think is so powerful. It's the great disconnect. I think for a lot of us, we go to church. There's 168 hours a week. We go to, an hour, let's just say an hour and a half, but let's just say an hour for simplicity. So we go for 1 hour a week, and out of 168, now I know we sleep, 8 times 7 is 56. We sleep, 56 hours a week, but still the majority of your waking hours are just, going to work and, showering, making food, just the basic things. But how many hours a week are we, getting our imagination wrapped around the word of God? And today we just had an awesome sermon at the church I attend. He was talking about the Magi, the wise men, right? It's Christmas now. I mean, yesterday was Christmas. He was talking about the Magi and King Herod. And this speaker specifically at the church I attend, everyone has a different level, a different gifting in how they minister or preach. This one, he's a younger guy. He's probably my age. And he really has a lot of like historical things. And he draws a picture out. He was saying like, most likely the Magi, the wise men, came from Babylon to Bethlehem. And he's like, by geographic, by where Babylon is and where Bethlehem is, he's like, that's an 700, 800 mile journey. And remember, this is back then, there wasn't airplanes, there wasn't Uber, there wasn't bikes, there was camels and there was feet. That was it. And so just to think about that, he spoke about that, and it got me thinking, my imagination. Wow. And the majority of that, he brought another deep level, or a deep, how can I say, he brought like sense to it, right? Where was it? Well, mostly from Babylon to Bethlehem was desert. He said most likely it was parts of Saudi Arabia. So I started to imagine. He said it could have taken about 4 months, and my bike trip took almost 3 months. And I had the luxuries of convenience stores with water and cherry Coke, which I love to drink on the bike trip, and all these snacks and pancakes and the breakfast and all these great restaurants. These guys did maybe possibly around 4 months in deserts. They didn't have any of that stuff. I was imagining that. And my point is, we go to church for 1 hour a week. We're not really using our imagination to open the word, to digest it. We're not really meditating on it. But when you do, like I did today, and I'm not a perfect example, I'm just saying today was especially good because it really got me thinking. Instead of just like reading the scripture, pulling out and stopping and thinking, hold on now, there was no planes, there was no buses. these guys walked that far. That's wild. That's insane. Um, and so the point I want to kind of now try to bring it to is our imagination. Again, I said earlier, can be used for good or for evil, right? There's a living God who created all of us, okay? And there's an enemy who tried to exalt himself higher than God, and his name is Satan. And so now he is corrupted everything that God made good, everything God made first. He's the original designer. Okay. He made it first and he made it good, right? He made it first and it's really good. Now the enemy comes, okay, and he perverts everything. Okay. It looks good, but it's perverted, right? Um, it tastes good. It feels good at first, but it's perverted and later it hurts, it's painful, it's not good. It has the illusion of good. Um, my point is our imagination can be used for good. It can be a good printer to print good visions, or it can be corrupted, just like a computer, right? I'm on a Mac computer right now, but if you're on a PC, Mac, it's a lie that Macs can't get viruses. They can. Okay. Computers can get viruses. Why? Because people can make a code and they can send it. You can open an email or whatever, whatever. You can open something, you can go to a website and click on something, boom, there goes your computer. It's compromised, right? It has now corrupt code. This computer I have was created first to be a tool, to be good, to be used for good. But it can be corrupted, right? It can be corrupted. It can be used for evil and perverted, you could say. And so it's the same thing with our imagination. There's a story in Genesis. It's Babylon, the Tower of Babel. And it's the same kind of thing. God created men, women to have a relationship with him and to worship and to walk with him, right? And of course, in the garden, there was a departure from that. Hey, let's do our own thing. Let's not listen to God. Let's do our own thing, because they believed the lie from the serpent, right? They believed the lie. And it was, again, it said when Adam looked at it, it looked the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It looked good. It looked like it was, wow, let's partake of that. And it was corruption. It was a virus. But in Genesis chapter, I should have, of course, I should have prepared myself a little bit more in the scripture. I'm just I'm free flowing, but it's in Genesis. And I want to say, I thought it was in, that's okay. I'm flipping through it, but Tower of Babel, all the men, they're all coming together and they're like, we can build this tower. We can ascend to heaven. We can go to the heavens. We will be God. And it's the evil. What it is it's the evil imagination. Okay. They didn't want to have a relationship with the true God, living God. They wanted to make their own thoughts, their heart. It says in Genesis 6, this is a good part too. It says Genesis 6:5, first of all, the title is The Wickedness and Judgment of Man. So Genesis 6, verse 5, then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. That's pretty crazy, right? His thoughts, his heart were only evil, and it says continually, or that translates literally, it says all the day, their imagination, their thoughts were evil, not of good. What evil? And I don't think, if you imagine yourself, right, there are bad people in this world today, right now, that are operating in bad ways, that are operating against God, right? And there are also people that are operating for God, with God. And I don't think men just decide to be bad, but it's over time, their heart becomes hard. And so I can't imagine that people just were like, hey, I'm going to be a bad person. No, but after a while, you start to just do more and more. And just like a drug, right? You take a hit of a drug, and the first time you probably don't wake up that morning saying, I'm going to do drugs today. I'm going to do some drugs. It sounds like a fun idea. No, but you get around the wrong crowd who's already went down that road. You try it and it's not so bad. And actually, I felt pretty good. So I'm going to do it again because I got some friends that do it and I felt good. And so after a while, 5 years later, that person's life is way different, way different. And so I can imagine that this verse, that the thoughts of their heart was evil continually, that it was the same thing for these men and women, that it wasn't just one day, I'm gonna be a bad person, but after a while, it just started going downhill. And it talks about the Lord, how, he was actually, and this goes on to Noah then, but the Lord was like really sad that he made people, because I know it sounds crazy, but the corruptness, it was so corrupted from what he intended. The printer, he made this printer to, that's a silly object. I'm just trying to use that object again. The printer is the mind, the imagination rather. And the vision is what you put inside of it and print out of it. So these men and women and all the people on the earth were just living terribly, and they were doing their own thing, and it was crazy. And so of course Noah came and he built the ark, and the Lord flooded the earth. But the Lord, I want to just end this part with, the Lord is gracious and he loves people. He warned the people, and Noah, he delivered, because he wanted to create a new people. And those people, they rejected God, just like today, people reject God, the God of Israel, the God of the Bible, Jesus, God and man came to earth. And people today, it's the same thing. Okay. There's not a flood, so to speak, right? But people, men and women, are rejecting what's available. And so I wanted to say that God's deliverance was great, though. Noah loved God. Okay. He walked right here. It says Noah pleases God in Genesis 6:9. This is the genealogy of Noah. Noah was a just man. Okay. A few verses before, it said the thoughts of men was just terrible, right? Everything was evil, right? Continually. 3 verses later, Noah was a just man. This is awesome. Perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. That's the first line for Noah. He walked with God. It's the same thing today. Fast forward, after the flood came, there was a rainbow, and it was God's love. And it said, I will never flood the earth again. I will never do that again. And so now, I guess I kind of got off on a tangent on that, but I think that's pretty good. I got ministered to. So if there's anyone watching, that maybe you got ministered to, but I just got ministered to, because wow, Noah was a just man. And he walked with God. We can be the same as Christians. If you're not a Christian, you can come to Christ. He is readily has his arms open for you. But we can be a Christian. We can start to use that. Noah walked with God. We can also imagine ourselves walking with God. Because I'm getting married now, and because my life is going on, and I want to always, inside of me, I want to get better, not for self-improvement, right? Self-help. No, not for that reason, because I want to use what God has given me. I know there's a living God. I know, I've known it since I was a kid. Before I even really knew what church was, and I know you do too. You listening on the other side of this, I know if you don't go to church today or say, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist, or whatever you want to say, I know when you're a kid, you walked with God. You knew him a little bit. Maybe, I don't want to say a little bit, you probably knew him a lot, because he speaks. And why? Our hearts are not corrupted at a young age yet. There's a purity there. My point is now, though, we can use our imagination. God has given us an imagination to not use it for corruptness, to say, I'm going to build a Tower of Babel. I'm going to ascend to the heavens. I'm going to be my own. I'm going to do everything. Whatever my flesh wants, I'm doing it. No, we can start to use our imagination for good, the way God originally designed, originally intended for us to use it. And you can start to imagine, well, if Noah walked with God, I'm going to walk with God. I'm going to have a relationship with, now we have a new covenant, though. I'm going to have a relationship with God through his one mediator, Jesus Christ, Jesus the Messiah. I'm going to have a relationship with this perfect, holy God who created and loves me through his son, who laid his whole life down for me. You can start to imagine that. You can start to see yourself, I am going to walk with God. I don't know, maybe I don't know the steps right now. That's okay. The Lord will direct your steps, it says in Proverbs. He will direct your path. We are not created to live this life apart from God. We are not created, even if there's some Christians that probably are like, I'm a Christian, yeah, but I'm going to do my own thing in life. And I can be honest, I've been there a little bit, right? I'm like, I don't know if I want to do my own thing, God. Like, okay, the cool thing is though, in Psalms, it says he puts desires in, right? And it's joyful to do what he's put inside of us. So it's not like you're a machine. If you were like a machine, Adam and Eve wouldn't have sinned in the garden, right? But they had a free will. They had a free will. God said, hey, partake of the garden, but not this one tree. Because if you do, he was warning them, something bad will happen, right? So they were not a machine and we're not either. So you don't have to trust, you don't have to follow God, you don't have to believe him, but it's the best option available. There's options and it's the best one. And it is an option, okay? It's not a force. It's an option. Like when you vote for someone, there's this person, this person, this person. You get to choose which one you want. Except in this ballot, there's only two choices. There's God and there's the world system, the enemy, okay? That's the only options. And the point is, again, same thing. Things are very black and white in this life. If you really peel back everything is black and white. Should I do that? My heart, I know I shouldn't, or should I not? That's it. Should I go over there or should I not? Should I spend money on this or should I not? Should I spend time on this? Should I not? Should I be with this person next to me right now or should I not? Okay. It's just there's not, well, you might want to hang out with 3 people. No, you might want to go here and then do this. It's very black and white. And we've been given that. It talks in Romans. We have a consciousness. We know what's right and wrong. We have a consciousness. But I want to keep back on imagination. So we can use our imagination. We can walk with God. We can walk with God. We can see ourselves righteous, not because of what we've done, not self-righteousness, but because of what the Messiah, okay, what Christ has done for us, Emmanuel, God with man, what he's allowed us to enter into. And I had another friend, pastor friend, talk about that a few weeks ago, about what Christ has done already. And you can put your imagination, okay, you can use your imagination in every area of your life. So you can this pastor friend of mine was talking about, I think he titled his sermon, like he has done it, or he did it, something like that. Like everything that Jesus did, now we have from that point of view, imagine now from that point of view that I'm righteous because of what Jesus has done. And so your imagination affects your whole life, how you see yourself, how it's not what other people see in you. It's how you see yourself. We live too often saying, this person, I wonder what they think about me. I wonder what Susie thinks about me. I wonder what Billy thinks about me. I wonder, and we spend way too many hours, minutes majoring on the minor things in life, the things that don't add up and they don't matter. How do you see yourself? That the God of this creation, of this universe created, how do you see yourself? Do you see him? Do you see yourself rather the way he sees you, the way he created you? Holy, okay, righteous. Again, why? Not because of you, no, but because of what Christ has done for you, who he sent for you, the perfect gift, right? Yesterday was Christmas. Oh, I want to get this gift. Great. Those things fall apart. They break, whatever. Okay. He gave us Christ. And so if you start to imagine and see that, Hebrews talks about your sin consciousness, it falls away. It's like, I'm not a sinner anymore. Yes, you still can sin. Do not think I'm like saying now you're God. No, but because of what God has done in Christ for us, you can start to imagine I'm healthy and I have a healthy mind, and I'm going to start to see myself. I'm going to start to get on this marathon journey, if you will, like I talked about earlier, of seeing myself differently. As I read the word, I'm going to start to see things differently. I'm going to start to unpack it. I'm going to start to envision my life differently, the way it was intended to be. Think about that. The way it was intended to be lived. The way you want it to be, or the way that your flesh wants it to be, is actually the corruption. That's not the way God intended it, though. The path of least resistance in this life is the virus on the Mac or the virus on the computer. It's the path of least resistance. It's the easy way. It's the feel good way. This feels good. This is awesome. It's the lazy way, right? But the God of this universe, the God that created you and me, your body is infinitely more complex than this computer that you're using right now. Infinitely complex. It regulates everything. Yeah. That's a whole, I could talk about evolution and all that stuff. That's a whole other thing that I've been kind of researching lately too. If you believe in evolution, you can't believe in the God of Israel. There's no place for evolution in the Bible. He made man and woman, and it was good. It was finished. It was done. Okay. That's a whole other topic, which maybe I'll talk about in the future. And it's going to trigger probably a lot of maybe even Christians, but that's okay. Hey, the Bible also says, are you mad at me? Are you angry at me because I told you the truth? Because I told you the truth, are you upset? And I'm not saying Brandon knows it all. Oh, Brandon, he knows it all. No, not at all. I'm learning. I'm still growing myself. This is awesome. I'm getting fired up right now. But you can see a different image for yourself. You can start to imagine that way. And when we use our imagination for good, we are on that path, not of the world way, the easy way, but actually the way just like God intended it to be, just like God had intended. And you're going to still make mistakes. Don't now think that, I have to be perfect now. No, you're still going to make mistakes. But I was just, I really was focusing on that, and I've graduated. So I went to that Bible college. Let's go back. I went to that Bible college in 2016. I graduated in 2018. And so now it's been 3 years since I've graduated. And you can get, after that Bible college, I think I was like, wow, I kind of did it, but that was just the beginning. Just like marriage, people spend all this money and all this energy and all this time on their wedding. Yeah, we're going to have a big wedding. It's going to be awesome. And this and that. And that's great. And I'm in the process of doing that right now. I'm not criticizing it, but how about day one after the marriage? How about 3 months later, a pastor friend just said, hey, Brandon, what do you envision 3 months, 6 months after your wedding? That was probably the best question I've ever been asked in this season. What do you envision 3-6 months after? Where are you going to be living? What are you going to be doing? Because, right, we only think about graduation from your college, graduation from Bible college, graduation, from your dating life to marriage, the wedding. And it was a great question. And so go back to the Bible college. I graduated. Yeah, awesome. And then 3 years later, right now, and I'm not beating myself up or anything like that, but without having a plan, and you get the plan from God, right? You seek with your heart, you knock, the door is open, you ask, okay, and it's given. But not maybe having that. I would say having a half-baked plan, or let's go back to that printer where I kind of ran out of ink. I feel like the page is a little bit spotty, and I've just been thinking like, it can be easy in this world of distraction, in this world of, there's so many options to go to Bible college and then just fall kind of back into the normal. People do it all the time, right? You see a lot of, even like just popping in my head right now, you think of a lot of people grew up in church and stuff when they were with their family and they fell away. The world is literally, it's trying to snatch you away. It's trying to take and say, no, use your imagination this way. Start to see the fame, the money, the fortune. Again, it's that Tower of Babel experience. Like, you can influence, you can grow to this, and you can be God. And I'm just thinking right now, never think about her, but I thought about it right now. I believe Katy Perry is one of those examples. I think she was even a singer, maybe at her church. I could be wrong, but I think she grew up in a Christian family. There's several people, right? I think Britney Spears too. I could be wrong on some of them, but I think some of them had some Christian background. And then boom, they were snatched away by this world system, and they started to use that imagination that God gave them to exalt him, right? And they started to use it to exalt themselves. The world system. That's the definition of the world system, that you're exalting, you're choosing from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You're doing your own thing. You want to do your own thing. That's exactly what that is. So I guess to suffice to say, from the last, whatever, how long I've been on here, an hour, has it been an hour? It's probably been, it doesn't matter how long, 50 minutes already. Wow. I guess what I wanted to talk, and I think I'm going to talk about this more, is imagination is given from God. It's not something you do when you're just a child. It's something, I didn't talk about that, but I'm going to talk about that quickly. A lot of us don't use our imagination though today because we think it's child play. We think it's fantasy land. And so we're like, oh, that's good. Jimmy, when he's 5 years old, he's talking about being an astronaut. Fun. But God, he didn't just, who told us to just stop using our imagination? God has given us that for, again, to use it for good things, to print good images out, right? To go do something in this earth, right? I've thought about the word retirement so many times, and I have several people in my life that I know that are, in the phase of retiring. And what is retirement? If you think about it, it's a lot of people get really sick after retirement. Why? Because they have no purpose. God did not create you and me to have a imagination until 5 or 10, and then go to school and start to conform to this world way, and then get spit out the other end at age 65 and, hey, go on Social Security. Think about how sad that is. God didn't create that. We did. The evilness of man created this. Well, I worked a career for 40 years. What's wrong with that? Not saying anything's wrong with that, but it's not about just putting food on our table. I'm saying there's got to be something greater, for instead of just taking care of our family. And I'm not the perfect example yet, because I'm wrestling. What I'm talking about right now, I'm also going through myself. Anytime I speak on one of these live streams, anytime I spoke, even I went on a mission trip, the things I speak, if I could be in the audience watching myself, I'm going to be the one watching myself as well. I'm not the perfect example. I'm also growing and learning this myself and walking it out. But there's something that we are created to use our imagination for, and it shouldn't have an expiration date after 5 years old. Grow up, stop using your imagination. It's not just for children. There are people that, I'll just use this Bible college as an example, Charis Bible College in Colorado. It's a great place. I recommend it. For sure. Andrew, the founder of it, says there's a lot of times that we have, age 65 who are just about to retire, come to the Bible college and get a new vision for their life, that they actually have meaning and purpose still, not just to fill up space, right? Just move to Florida and join a country club and golf every day. That's your vision for what God created you to be. Again, golfing and having leisure time, and even a pastor of ours is doing a sabbatical for 3 months. That is so awesome and encouraged. But just to get on that bandwagon of like, why retire? You can retire from your career, but we should always have some vision. We should use our imagination to have something that we're going towards. The best time in my life, the best times and the hardest times have been when I put those challenges, the marathon, the bike trip. I know those are physical challenges, but there can also be mental ones. There can be spiritual ones. Like, hey, I want to start reading the Bible more. Okay. Get a piece of paper out and write a little plan down, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, or I'm going to study and read Genesis this next 3 months. I mean, Genesis is huge. Okay. So imagine yourself, see yourself doing that. All right. The last few days I've kind of started something. I'm like, I want to start getting up earlier. Because that's going to make me go to bed earlier. I'm going to start getting up and going for a run. And I've done that the last few days and I want to stick with it. But the point is, when you have those challenges, when you do something, not just sit on the couch. Well, I did my job today. I'm just going to sit on the couch, drink some Coke and have a bag of chips, just kind of watching you right now, but every one of us has something greater inside of us that God has placed inside of us. And we know it. Even I know this for a fact because Romans talks about it. Everyone knows there's a God. So even the atheist watching this right now, I know they even know that, hey, I know there's something I'm made for. They just don't want to acknowledge there's a God, but everyone is made for something great. And I'm not just saying like, you've got to go like find this. I'm not trying to do like a worldly message, like go, you got to go find it. I'm talking about, let's go back to Genesis 6:9. Noah was a just man, perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. If you could just, 4 words, if you could just now put your name in there, Brandon walked with God. Oh, that's blasphemy. Why? It's imagination. It's why wouldn't God, he created us to walk with him, to be with him. So put your name there and just start to imagine that. What would it look like if I walked with God? How would my life be so much more fulfilling, so much more great for me and for others around me, though? It's throwing that rock in the pond, having a ripple effect. It would ripple everywhere. You would change the atmosphere everywhere. Again, not because of you and you're so awesome and you're self-righteous. No, because you're saying, God, what would it look like if I walked with you? What things would happen in my life? How would things change? How would things be better? And absolutely at sometimes in some seasons be more difficult and hard. Just like that marathon. Oh, crashed and burned. I got hurt, but I got back up and I kept running my race and my race physically, right? And mentally, and I finished. And how great it was to cross. I can't tell you when I crossed that finish line, how great a feeling it was. If I would have gave up, if I would have stopped a month and a half before when I got hurt, I would still be thinking right now, 10 years later, I should have finished that marathon. I should have finished that race. I could have did it. Why didn't I? Same thing when we get to the finish line of this life. For everyone, even though no one wants to acknowledge it right now, you're too busy on your Netflix, right? We distract ourselves. We want to be distracted because we don't want to think about those things. But when we get to the end of this life, it would be better to say, I had some challenges. I went through it. But I kept walking with the Lord instead of taking that path of least resistance and just kind of mellowed out, be calm and relax like the rest of the world. Just chill out and hang out. But you're going to have a lot of regret at the end of that life, just hanging out and chilling out. You're going to have a lot of regret. You want to get to the end of this life and you're never going to max God out. You aren't, but you'd rather get to the end of this life and use the imagination God has given you for good things and get to the end and say, I walked with God to the best of my ability. Again, because of what Christ has done, I am focused on that. Christ did this for me. Now I'm in that. I walk in that. I thank you, God. I believe I did well and I walked with you. And well done, good and faithful servant. Praise God. So I think I'm going to finish here. I think this is pretty good. These live streams, it's been 1 hour. It's just like, wow, that's insane. But I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll be back. I want to do these more. I'm excited. God has some great and wonderful things for you on the other side of this. Keep going. Fall if you have to, but just get back up. Don't give up on that challenge just because a difficult circumstance came up. At least accept that challenge. Go forward. Fall. Here's a hint. You will fall. You will. But God has enabled you the ability to get back up, okay? And your past failure does not mean that, well, I failed last time, so it's not going to work this time. That's the past, and that's the evilness of the imagination. You can use that to paint an evil picture. Don't let your imagination paint an evil picture. Go forward, pursue the Lord. He's with you, and you can walk with God like Noah. Absolutely, you can. With what Christ has done now, a greater covenant that we have than Noah ever had. He didn't have that. He didn't have that revelation. He didn't have that. Jesus didn't come yet. God in the flesh did not come yet. And Noah still walked with God. So God bless you guys. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful Christmas season and a wonderful year. and I'll be back. I'm going to make these videos again. I know my YouTube channel has been like this. I made videos and then I kind of quit. And then I made some videos and I quit. And now I'm going to start making videos again. And I'm going to release the pressure. I'm not going to put stress and pressure. Oh, I got to go perform for these people. I'm never going to try to perform for you. If you're looking for great like features and like the background to look really cool and lights and smoke, that's not here. I've said that before. My heart is not that. I just want to come on here and be real. So I'm not going to come on and be like, yeah, life's hard. No, I'm going to be real based on this word though. I'm going to be real. That's the reality, right? This is the reality. I'm going to be real based on this word. So God bless you guys. Yeah, if this video is awesome, give it a like. I know it sounds so cliche, but I guess more importantly, share it with someone. I'd rather ask that you would share this video because I would rather people get a message like this and actually get encouraged than they just get likes and subscribes. Like, that's great. Sure. Whatever. But I would rather someone watch this that you shared it with and they really got touched. Like, I can use my imagination for good. I can start to use it for good. What once was, what was, used for evil in the past can now be switched, transitioned to good. Yeah, that's Christ. He made that exchange. You can still operate with that old mindset, like nothing's good. I'm still in the garden of, I'm still striving. I'm still struggling. Yeah, you can still operate that even though Christ came, but you can flip the switch on and say, no, I'm going to actually operate from that imagination, from that point. Again, it's not fantasy land. Actually, the reality of what Christ has done for me, I can now operate to the full capacity. I can, with God, with his son, I can be like Noah. I can walk with God. I can fulfill what God has placed inside of my heart. The good things. I can see that through in this life. God bless you guys. I will see you later. You're loved and you're blessed. All right.